Hi, everybody. This is, well, it's not the morning brief, but it is the brief, but maybe not too brief. Okay, starting off that way. We have Safety on today. We have Rodolfo. I can hear feedback of myself right now, so turning that off. And Tone. Tone, how's it going?
Yeah, no, it's going great. Thor, I see like half of him. Where's his head?
It is under the table. Safety, how's it going?
Very good. Things are great. How are you, Leo?
I'm muting myself for a second, so you guys talk.
Okay, well, great to be here, guys. Always fun to be catching up.
Yeah, we're having like major technical difficulties. This is why the show is an hour late. Rodolfo.
I finally got it working. I'm back.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey.
I'm staring up because it's my phone from the top of the computer.
Yeah, hey, Rodolfo, your audio is really low.
Really?
Yeah.
How's that possible?
Like.
Oh, we're so professional, guys. So professional.
This is why they pay us the big bucks.
Yeah,
Can you hear me now?
No, we can hear you, but you have to speak louder.
Right,
okay, Rodolfo.
Loud.
Yell about Cold Card right now.
Oh, so yeah, I was just we just decided to announce it today because we never planned these things with the non-existing PR company. So people have complained that they love Cold Card, but the keyboard is not desirable for some. So we're launching a new version with physical keys. No more that touch stuff. It's for pre-order on the website, so put your order in. It should be coming out at some point this year. Very precise dates.
That's awesome. All right. And Tone, you're standing up like you're like ready to go. This is a new t-shirt.
Yeah, well, I think I've worn it before, but yeah, it's all right, let's do it. We got a lot of stories to cover. We'll try and keep each one short. But hey, Safe, thanks for joining us again. It's gonna be a great episode.
My pleasure.
Boom. Let's do it. Okay, and Safe, since you're on, obviously we had to throw in economics and banking and central banks and shitcoins and taking it down and screaming all day. So former French central bank chief joins blockchain startup board. It's similar to the next story. We'll throw them all together. Former Bank of England director joins the same blockchain startup, which is Settle. This was in December. Now we have today.
No, that was wait. That was December 2015.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Tone just sent that to me. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
That's the last bull market, basically. So every bull market they managed to get one disgruntled central banker.
For sure. Try to get a little relevancy. And before we have fun with that, Tone, what's Settle? You sent this and was following in 2015. So what's going on with the story and what's going on with this company?
Right. So that was the thing, right? So when I was reading this article earlier today, and it said Settle, some blockchain company I've never heard of, was founded in 2015. That's like, a lifetime in the world of crypto. So that made me look for a story from 2015, and that brings us to that other story. So if you click on the older article, the other article, the 2015 article, right? And then from there, I had to go figure out what the hell is this company. So, do you have the link to their actual company's website?
It's setl.io.
Yeah. setl.io. I think I sent it in our little group chat. And it's like I still don't know what that is. It's like they're just
it's going
right. So I have no idea what they do. It's basically settlement on the blockchain. It doesn't look like they have a token, which is good. So I have no clue what they're doing. They're basically like another R3, unless there is a token somewhere in the back. Like this company's been around for 4 years. It's had 2 announcements that they're hiring central bankers, but I have no clue what they do. Like their about page doesn't say anything useful. And it's another one of these, proof of news stories that I looked at the about tab. I looked at the people tab. I've never heard of any of these people. There isn't a single blockchain engineer that I've heard of. I don't think they even have blockchain engineers. It's a bunch of finance people, and they're just using the word blockchain in order to offer their own database to banks. Like, again, it's another art.
Hey, Tone,
and that's it.
blockchain makes everything better. If
Of
you
course.
put blockchain in your company, it fixes everything.
Yeah. So I mean, this is all I have to say. Like, there's no innovation here. It's just another database to settle fiat money. That's it.
Safedine, what are you thinking with this? Even Sir, I'm not going to be obnoxious today. There's quite a list. There are people
Yeah.
for it here. Definitely, they're gathering quote unquote superstars from the formal central banking world.
Yeah, I mean the photos all look professionally done well enough, which is more than can be said about your usual shitcoins websites photos. So at least they've got that going. However, if you keep scrolling down, which obviously nobody really does, because who has time for this sort of nonsense? But I did, and so if you keep scrolling down, you see the part where it says partners, and there's a whole bunch of logos of a whole bunch of easy credit dependent institutions. Yep, these they are. Yeah, there they are. These are the sort of financial institutions that survive because of low interest rates and essentially proximity to the government. And so effectively, the way that these things work is that you never have any kind of authority in a business organization that is dependent on the fiat credit system. You're always, no matter how big of a boss you are in your own company, you never really have any kind of oversight over your actual company, even if you've built it yourself, because you always have to answer to the people who control the credit provision. And so the result is that people end up having to come up with all sorts of ways in order to spend the money that they generate and that they make. And effectively, the majority of the corporate sector is just a bunch of people going through with a bunch of, well, I mean, majority is a big word and depends on how you define the corporate sector, but most of these kind of organizations that live off of easy money credit, they survive with people figuring out all kinds of creative ways of spending needless money. And this is one of them. So they set up, these organizations get together, and a bunch of friends who used to drink together from all of these banks get together and assign a budget from their own, research plus PR plus, sustainability plus unique initiatives plus AI or blockchain or whatever buzzword is going that day. They assign a budget to it towards going this organization, and then they give themselves and their buddies jobs, cushy jobs in these places to go and spend a few years. And effectively, it works as a method of compensation for them because they can secure that funding from their companies. They couldn't secure that funding for themselves to go and spend it themselves because, that's not how credit money works. But they can secure it for all kinds of stupid bullshit as long as you put up nice press releases and so on. Because if you think about it, there's no way that any investor you and I know or have heard of will put money in something like this. All right, you've got a whole bunch of people, on a website, but there's nothing more than it. And they just live off of government fiat, I think. That's how I would see it.
Definitely. Thanks, Safedine. And Rodolfo, this is a real blockchain though, obviously, right?
Well, my opinion about blockchain stuff, right? Like, I don't know why we're talking about it.
Okay. Fair.
It's like these guys are just sort of finding themselves, they're founding themselves a job, right? Like, there is no company invention, a value add or anything. It's just that they just found a way of getting some funding to sort of pay for a job they don't really do. It's quite fascinating that they can get funding for something like that.
Yeah. And Tone, do you have last thoughts before we go to a company that is heavily funded, Circle?
No, we can move on. We got a bunch of stories to cover. I think I said everything I needed to say.
Let's do it. All right. Circle's USDC stablecoin. This auditor is saying that it is fully dollar backed. Tone, were you able to check this out? What do you think?
I mean, but again, it's another stable coin, right? Or as some people like to call them, fiat coin. This is basically fiat coin on a technologically unstable database. That's all they're building, right? I mean, it's great that Circle, unlike Tether, can prove that they are fully backed. That's not the big issue here. The big issue here is you're building a digital representation of the same fiat currencies we always had, with the added bonus of the technological inefficiency of either Ethereum or EOS or whatever other nonsense they're going to put it on. Now, if you're going to put this thing on top of a Bitcoin sidechain that has proven itself to be stable over a few years, and this isn't coming till like maybe 2023, 2025. I mean, maybe if you can build this on top of Bitcoin, you can remove the technological risk. But I mean, this isn't what Bitcoin and blockchain is about. This is not innovative. It's just a representation of the same fiat currencies, but that's it. There's nothing there.
I actually have a different opinion on the stable coins. I find that that's exactly what this on-ramping companies should be doing. They are the ones who have to go through all this regulation anyways. They don't really add much value to the space, but since they are already, spending all the money, being regulated and doing all the stuff that they are, might as well do the stable coins. The stable coins do help transfer between exchanges as these companies integrate more. Tether did help with liquidity, but they are just essentially replacing Visa or PayPal that should have been doing the job in the first place. That's what I don't get.
Just one comment on this, that everybody, all publications love saying Goldman Sachs backed. Let's not forget that actually the biggest backer is Bitmain, and they led the latest round of 110 million. I think it was a Series E. So I wish that would be thrown in. But Saif, I would love to hear your thoughts as a follow-up to Rodolfo of stablecoins in general, or this story.
I mean, honestly, I would be surprised if a regulated entity would actually maintain full dollar backing. It's just completely anathema to everything that modern banking is all about. The way that you make money is by mismatching the maturities and mismatching the reserves that you have, effectively creating money and arbitraging differences in interest rate. This is what corporate America lives off of. This is what every company essentially in the modern world is, just an excuse to make money so that you can then start becoming a bank in one way or the other by issuing credit to your customers. And then it doesn't even matter what you sell your customers. What matters is that you could just continue to give them credit. And so it would really surprise me if these companies manage to actually have their full reserve in terms of dollars. But to give them the benefit of the doubt, both Tether and USDC so far, they seem to be holding up relatively well. So they seem to maybe be doing this correctly, although who am I to know? I'm not your auditor, so your mileage may vary. But if they've managed to pull it off, I think it would be an excellent contribution that Bitcoin has given to the modern world of banking and fiat finance by teaching these people about the benefits of full reserve banking and why it is good and safe and sustainable. And so, hopefully that virus continues to spread. But yeah, essentially these things are gateway drugs to Bitcoin. They just go to get people hooked on the idea that money is just information and then get along with it.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, just thoughts on what you guys are saying. Definitely true. I know a lot of people are enticed by the fact that it does say dollar, and they think that, and stablecoin, I mean, it's really sexy marketing when you think about it. But it absolutely, we'll see. But again, yeah, auditing companies are paid by people, right? And if we look at the mortgage crisis, we were supposed to trust FDIC as well. So do your own research for sure in this space. Tone, your favorite.
I want to add real quick to what Saif said, and
please.
Yeah, Saif, I'm with you. But remember, the underlying asset isn't, the underlying asset to the stable coin can be fractionally reserved. So it's very possible that they can do a bunch of financial engineering on the back end where it looks like, yes, sure, every single digital token is fully backed by a dollar, but the dollars sitting in the bank have been fractionally reserved even for that account. So there could certainly be accounting tricks that can make it look like, even through a top 4 auditing firm, that your stablecoin is fully backed, where in reality it is nothing of the sort. And so it doesn't
just
matter.
One of the many reasons why you don't use shitcoins like the US dollar in their stupid financial systems. Just one of many reasons. Thankfully, as Bitcoiners, we don't have to put up with that bullshit.
Well, here is a shitcoin on this story. Speaking of in the United States, so Grayscale's newest crypto investment trust is going to hold Stellar. This is the company behind GBTC, for the people who trade GBTC, right? Which is Bitcoin Investment Trust. And they've talked, actually, I do believe Grayscale already has Ethereum Classic, funny enough, as a ticker out that you can trade as well. But right now they're saying that they're going to do Stellar. I don't believe it says that it's launched quite yet, but they are saying that, publicly. Tone, you going to trade this, or we're going to, be talking about this in the end of the TA of the show?
Well, like you said, the only ones that are legally traded through a brokerage account are Bitcoin and Ethereum Classic. But if you are, a private holder with an account at Grayscale, or then you can put your assets into any of those shit coins like Ethereum and Zen. I don't even know what the hell Zen is. Litecoin, Ripple, Zcash, and now Stellar. Now, what people need to understand is Stellar is like, if you think Ripple is a scam, multiply that by 10, and that's where Stellar comes from, because Stellar comes from the man named Jeb McCaleb. Now, Jeb McCaleb first scammed Mark Karpeles by selling him Mt. Gox with 80,000 missing Bitcoin. Then Mt. Gox gets hacked for 250,000 more Bitcoin, with suspicion that that hack came from Jeb McCaleb's old computer that still had admin credentials through some kind of a back door. Then Jeb McCaleb goes and creates the Ripple token. And then when the Ripple company didn't allow him to cash out $1 billion worth of Ripple that he printed for himself, he then cloned Ripple to create Stellar in order to cash out $1 billion. So Jeb McCaleb is up there with Dan Larimer for, the Lifetime Scammer Achievement Award in the crypto space. And most people don't see it. Stellar is equally as useless as Ripple, only with a much shadier history of its creation. And for Grayscale, hey, as long as dumb people are going to buy it and they can charge you a 2 or 3% management fee, they're happy to do it.
Thanks, Tone. And Rodolfo, I'll switch to you right now. Thoughts on trading this new Grayscale product? Also, I thought you'd like that bottom right there. If you want to, actually, we can just talk about shitcoins with that one really quickly. That Grayscale's announcement comes on the heels of it reassuring existing customers that an investment vehicle for another of these established blockchain projects, Ethereum Classic, was not in any danger after the 51% attack on the network. So obviously, great idea.
I'm just waiting for all these funds to either dump their Ethereum or have to face up to the fact that their Ethereum lost all their value. It's going to happen. I mean, it's just a matter of time. And I bet a lot of these funds have a lot of Ethereum in the books, because a lot of the Ethereum holders are people who were sort of sour for not being in Bitcoin in the early days. It's going to be interesting to see the books of all these funds.
Thanks, Rodolfo. And Saifedean, thoughts?
I'm just disappointed that Stellar is, from what you say, I've never looked into Stellar, never gave it the dignity of spending any time on it, and I don't intend to change that. But I presume if you're saying that it's a copy from Ripple, then that means it doesn't have a real blockchain, so it can't actually even be 51% attacked, which is a shame, because, as soon as these hedge funds, I think, start giving special favors to their shitcoins by listing shitcoins on exchanges, all that they're going to be doing is effectively like waving a red flag in front of the raging bulls of the market that are going to attack the currencies while shorting them on the exchanges. So I think this is likely going to be the way that all these currencies will face. But Stellar, unfortunately, is a shitty centralized shitcoin like Ripple. So won't face that. So I don't have anything smart.
Yeah, safe with you. I mean, Stellar, just like Ripple.
Thanks, Safe. Sorry.
Wait, can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I froze. But go.
Okay. Yeah, so just like Ripple, basically you create 100 million tokens up front. Now, everyone knows that it's 100 million tokens created by a single entity or a single person, doesn't really matter. And you, at the beginning, it's literally worthless, or it's worth 0.0003 cents or something like that. So they hand out like a third of these tokens. They just give them away for free because they just created 100 billion of them. They hand out like 20% or 30% to a bunch of people, and then they hold on to the rest. And then they start convincing these people how useful these tokens can be in the future. Now, these people want to get rich. They start convincing other people how useful they are. Meanwhile, the person that created them is still holding 70% of all the coins. And this is how both of these scams, Ripple and Stellar, have gotten into existence. And once their armies get these tokens up to the price of a penny, now the people holding 70% of them, that is 70 billion tokens, each one is worth a penny. They now have lots of money to hire whoever the hell they like, including former chiefs of the SEC, to defend them that they're not a security.
You should have been wearing your t-shirt, not a security.
True. Tone, I just rewatched actually your crypto scam Ripple with Peter Todd. And that was very interesting. I mean, you went really in depth about Jed McCaleb. So before we move on, just given that little conversation you guys were having about Jed McCaleb, I mean, it was everybody should watch that. The background of it, I didn't even know it was going to be about Ripple for a while because of the background you guys did about Mt. Gox and everything. Really, really interesting. Sorry, just shilled your stuff there right now. All right, is the MIT-backed Unit E better than Bitcoin? Tone,
I know. Let me take that one. No.
But it's gold. Just kidding. Tone, what
I know. And Safe, you're going to be involved in this one. Look, it's again, so it's a bunch of people. It's coming out of MIT. They put together a bunch of professors in a room, and they all came to the same conclusion. Bitcoin is bad. Bitcoin is slow. Bitcoin is old technology, and we're going to create a better Bitcoin. We have been listening to the same exact statement every month since 2011, when Bitcoin started to have some value. These people are not going to create a better Bitcoin because what Bitcoin did in its first 3 years is not replicatable, no matter how smart your professors are. And if they think it's replicatable, they're clearly not very smart. So this is yet another creation of a shitcoin. It doesn't matter what database they're going to use or what code base they're going to use. So basically, if you scroll down,
I think your tweet is at the bottom.
If Tone, Airlog had a great tweet. I think it was yesterday. He said, "It doesn't matter how many shitcoins you invent. You can't buy Bitcoin yesterday. All these shit coins are just a matter, like a way for them to try to get in at the bottom of their multi-level marketing scam. Like it's all crap. It really adds nothing."
No, that's a good statement. Hey, so I'm going to close off on this, right? So this tweet was referenced in that article, but if you look, it says replying to somebody and Saifedean and 2 more people. But there's nothing in this Twitter. There's no feed. There's no. So I replied to somebody because, and this is the problem. Guys like me and Rodolfo and Saifedean constantly have to reply to people, like explaining why they have a shitcoin. And then those people delete their stupid tweets with their stupid shitcoin that they were trying to convince us is going to be the future of Bitcoin. And then the next day they pick another piece of trash, and now we have to do it all over again. And this is why it's frustrating for us to reply to explain to you why another one. So that was, I don't even remember sending that tweet, but it basically comprises all of it. And they didn't actually reach out to me for comment, or maybe they did by email and I didn't see it. But no, whatever these professors create, it is going to be a scam coin by default. because you just like Rodolfo said, you can't buy Bitcoin yesterday. That's it.
True. Safe, any follow-up thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a very stupid idea that they're still even engaging in this sort of stuff, because I mean, it just shows how out of touch academia is, that they're at the level of scammery that dudes in their basement had been doing for about 2 years now. We've been seeing these same kinds of ideas coming out from the private sector scamming, from the private scam sector, far more dynamically and innovatively than tenured academics at the old institutions like whatever colleges these kids are from. But the point is that they keep continuing to miss the point. It's astonishing. It's astonishing, even for academics. And you have to always give academics some sort of leeway in terms of they're not expected to be in touch with the real world and so on, and that's assumed to be a charming thing about them. But really, like, to still continue to talk about Bitcoin transactions per second and to continue to discuss it as if it's a consumer mechanism, and completely miss the point that we've been over this sort of thing for 6-7 years, during which the price has appreciated enormously and adoption has appreciated enormously, and still not see that this is counter to your claims that this is a problem, because this is not a consumer payment mechanism, as my book explains at length. And so, you shouldn't be comparing it to payment systems, and you shouldn't be bragging about being able to make more transactions per second, because that's irrelevant. Bitcoin does not compare in terms of its transactions with your credit card or with Western Union or with your bank or any of that stuff. Bitcoin's transactions are final cash transactions. They're cash transaction, meaning that it is a payment that is complete and final without third-party liability, that is not reliant on anyone performing anything else. It's real money. It's not credit. And that's essentially the distinction between money and credit. It's a cash payment. So Bitcoin, the only other way of sending cash across the world is sending physical gold or sending physical paper dollars, both of which are very, very, very hard compared to just sending Bitcoin. That's what Bitcoin is up against. That's what Bitcoin competes with. And it's amazing to continue to find these academics completely miss the point, completely detached and ignorant of all of the discussions that happen on, amongst Bitcoin users themselves and amongst the people who program and code Bitcoin, who have been over this stupid bullshit many years before. And, they're just completely oblivious to it. They introduce the stupid shitcoin as if it's going to change anything and make anything in the world different. But all it's going to do is just give them stupid things to waste their time with and pretend to justify their paychecks, basically.
Well, Steve, I think you're being very charitable. It's like these guys, they know exactly that, like, especially if you are a researcher or has any idea about the stack, like, that Bitcoin made it, and it's like, 90% of what we need, and the other 10% can be done off chain. But you didn't buy Bitcoin in the early days. You're very sour. So what you do? You go and you start your own coin so that you can be in the bottom. You can be in the early days. It's like all of these things, they add nothing, and they just try to remove value from suckers.
Well, question as a follow-up. Well, first of all, comment to Saifedean. It's really light, I think, to just stuff a whole lot of gold bullion in my suitcase or just walk across, right? It's a real light, So definitely across borders, I think at least I'll get a workout. Totally.
Well, I mean, you'll be lucky to get a workout out of it. Let's face it. With gold, like the size of your iPhone is about 1 kilogram. So that's about, I think, what's a kilo of gold these days? About $40,000. So that's just the size of an iPhone. So you're gonna need to be really rich before you start making gains from capital flight.
Definitely. Rodolfo, question to you though on this, and especially as specifically a Bitcoin tech entrepreneur. We are seeing so many different startups, or as Saifedean is talking about here, academia missing the point. No matter what, I'm just seeing so many new projects that are trying to compete and creating all these new factions, and definitely not working in the Bitcoin space, and definitely not trying to partner with Bitcoiners or Bitcoin companies, and definitely not trying to work with core devs. And these do seem like, for the most part, quite smart people. Not to the caliber of core, but well, okay, go for it. My question is just, why all this crap all the time, and why?
We lose Leah.
Obviously, at least trying to work in the space. Why aren't you trying to do better? You lost me. Go for it.
Yeah. So it's actually very simple, right? Bitcoin disintermediates, right? Bitcoin is not a good play for VCs, for example. Like, you know, the current way, the best way for you to make money, investing in companies that can become monopolies, right? That can be middlemen, that can extract value. Bitcoin it's like the opposite of it. It's terrible, right? Even exchanges don't make that money on Bitcoin. You know, the best ones are doing leveraging on shitcoins, you know, or creating options like BitMEX, right? They understand that there is very little margin to be made on Bitcoin, right? At least with gold, you know, you need a truck, you needed arm guards, right? Like, so there was at least a little business on the friction of using gold. Now, with Bitcoin, the friction is gone. I mean, like, we sell a device that you can hold $1 billion in it for $60. Like the asymmetry of that is insane. And smart people understand that. They also understand that the marketing in Bitcoin is sort of, you know, it started to get saturated in a lot of the very few places you can make money out of it. So what they do, because they still need to do something, you know, smart people especially can't be bored. So you go and you come up with your own crap so that, you know, you can make money on top of it. And VCs also understand that. They're not stupid. They know a shitcoin is a shitcoin, but, you know, there is value to be extracted from these other things that you can't do it on Bitcoin. It's actually pretty simple.
Interesting. Safe, it looked like you were going to say anything. Otherwise, on to CoinStar.
No, I think this is pretty much it. I agree with Rodolfo on that.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, I just want to make a very quick comment. It's funny what Saifedean said, that academia is now so late to scamming people in the scam coin space. They're like 2 years behind.
Yeah, it's sad. It's really true. Okay, my brain's not working very well today. I guess so I'm publishing a new Forbes piece right now, and exactly to the point of what you were talking about, Rodolfo. Giacomo was downloading to me about different variety of Bitcoin businesses that will work. So I guess it'll come out soon. You were not very helpful because all you said was do your taxes, call it a day. But I
mean, you know, like you were asking me, right? Like, I mean, how do you like don't go to jail, right? Like, how do you, like, it's actually very simple. You know, if you choose a society you want to live in, you don't do things that are illegal, and you pay the taxes of that place you chose to be. And that's pretty straightforward for any kind of...
That's huge if true, Rodolfo.
Yeah, safe. The idea was just, and you'll see it soon, is and then we'll move to CoinStar, is for emerging Bitcoin entrepreneurs, when there's so much gray area and even murkier than that in the Bitcoin space, and you're connected in certain ways, how do you ensure that you're starting a company? Giacomo said I should not use the word right side of the law at all, but you know, that you're working in an interesting space that still is able to make money, to your point, Rodolfo, but also that is able to provide a service that
I think
in the regulations that currently exist. And I will say, Giacomo, yeah, hit me. Okay, since you guys are losing me, on to the next. CoinStar machines, gonna start selling Bitcoin at the grocery store. Tone.
Yes.
I don't want you guys to lose me, so I'll let you hit this.
Okay.
Partnership, Bitcoin.
Now, this sounds great, and it's good. You know, it's a good way for people to access Bitcoin, right? Because if you have one of these machines, and I mean, I've never used them. I know I got a bunch of change at home. I still have no idea what I'm going to do with it. Looking at the live chat right now, people are saying that CoinStar charges a 9% fee to count your change and convert it into paper dollars. Okay. And then I think, Leah, you went to their website and you looked at the frequently asked questions, and they said they were going to charge a 4% fee on top of that for your Bitcoin. Now, in the FAQs, Like the one that I found really interesting is the next one, right? It says, can I use coins to buy Bitcoin? And the answer is you can only use paper money. So what is that? I'm not sure what that means, because people don't put paper money into those machines. They put coins into those machines, right? So what do they mean by paper money? Do they also mean, well, like it's a weird question, right? Is the word coins in the question cryptocurrency coins, or is the word coins in the question 5 cents and 10 cents and a quarter? Because if they're only accepting paper dollars, because then what the hell's the point? Well, like the whole point of this is to take your quarters and dimes and nickels and pennies and convert them into Bitcoin. If that's not what they're doing, then this is like the stupidest business decision they've ever made. So like they really need to clarify that specific frequency.
I guess I would say, Tone, maybe it's just that they're charging a significant premium on Bitcoin, and they charge a significant premium on change. And then if they wanted to do both, it would be too expensive, maybe.
It's actually, so 9% to handle coins is actually cheap. So, you know, in Canada, we discontinued the pennies, for example, here, right? And these machines have existed in supermarkets here for quite some time. And, you know, people are running out of coins, of the small coins anyways. And it's a great way for you to get rid of them. You know, handling physical things cost a ton of money. You know, like somebody has to go to that machine, remove all that like very low value junk. It's very low value. You know, people don't put their big coins there, right? It's mostly the lower ones. So 9% is not bad. And then 4% for Bitcoin out of a machine that's probably a non, by the way, it's actually not bad either. You know, some OTC would charge even more than that. I think people need to realize that there is a cost of doing business, delivering services, right? And it's not normal for people to buy and exchange currency for normal life in a trading desk. It's like people don't go to the supermarket and expect, you know, like like a watermelon to be priced at the specific trading moment of the US dollar on a forex, right? There has to be, like, this is going to happen in time, but there is a gap between, you know, your consumer priced Bitcoin that, you know, businesses have to deal with the fluctuation, they have to eat that, and what you get in an exchange. So I think it's pretty fair. But yeah, like I'm actually pretty pumped. I think it's a great way for you to get rid of your exchange. Instead of getting $5, $10 bills, you know, you get some Satoshis every time you get rid of your, you know, heavy junk.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, Adolfo. I think it's a great idea, and this probably should be completely anonymous because they are going to deal with small amounts, and it's great. And if one of those machines is in my neighborhood, I'm happy to bring them all of my change and convert it into Bitcoin. Have a bunch of quarters and pennies and God knows what else. And it's great. I'd love to convert it into Bitcoin. If you got to pay a 13% fee for that, so be it, right? It's not the end of the world. You get to convert stuff that's been accumulating in your house for years into Bitcoin. So yeah, I think it's a great idea. Let's see them pull it off.
Last question to you, Rodolfo. We've seen a lot of issues with Bitcoin ATMs though in the past, and the people trying to operate them.
Yeah.
So do you think that they're going to run into especially regulatory issues or any other issues though?
I mean, again, we go back to, like, you know, a physical business of delivery, you know, of currency is very expensive to run, right? You need men with guns to go and change the trays for cash. You know, and then you have the regulation stuff per city, per state, or whatever that has to be dealt with. So it's a tough business to be in. So, you know, unless they charge a lot of margin on top, it's going to be very hard. And then they have to do the legislation. So, I mean, you know, this business is not going away. I think you just become sort of like harder and harder because you're going to have, you know, a few monopolies doing it because they're going to have the bank to do the legislation. You have to do it as a physical thing that can be taken away. and the small guys are going to disappear. That's kind of how like most of the physical fiat system works. You ended up with very few banks that have retail, just because of the cost of doing business so high.
One last follow-up question for you, Safe. It does seem, though, regarding just the belief behind it, coins, for the most part, they're fairly useless. You're getting out fiat now. Fiat is fairly useless. You're getting out Bitcoin. Do you see maybe there's like a theological argument here that maybe CoinStar, certain companies are coming around? I mean, we're getting a progression.
Yeah, I think it's change is an interesting story because only government has succeeded in devaluing their currency so much that they have brought them back to the point where the value of their content is higher than their nominal value. In other words, the dollar could be effectively on a copper standard right now, in terms of it, or at least the penny is on a copper standard. So the price of each penny is more in copper than 1 penny. And so that's how much debauchery there has been in the currency, that the value of the currency has gone down so much over time. But yeah, I think it's a reminder of just how ridiculous it is that people still carry these coins that don't mean anything and don't have real value anymore. And yeah, Bitcoin is definitely a far neater, cleaner, better solution for all this stuff. And I think, these people probably understand this.
Nice. Well, I have a CoinStar literally in 1 block away from me in the Harris Theater. So hopefully I'll be able to check this one out soon. And Rodolfo, I'm switching back to you again. Blockstream Satellite API. What's Blockstream up to now?
I mean, this is like cypherpunk as fuck. I mean, it's really cool. Like the fact that they already had, like a stream for the new blocks coming out from space, so you can get it anywhere. Now you can actually broadcast your transactions too. So essentially, they created an API for you to broadcast any transaction. I haven't spent enough time looking at the specific details, but I assume there is like a size message limit, and I think it's on you pay with Lightning Network, and you can broadcast messages from space. Like, I mean, really, it's a pretty cool time to be alive.
That's awesome. Tone?
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't have anything to add. It's just like these kinds of things constantly, like Blockstream is doing amazing stuff, decentralized stuff, giving you freedom and adding privacy to Bitcoin transactions, making sure they stay censorship resistant. And people continue to talk about these conspiracy theories, how they're overtaking Bitcoin and they're working for the government and they're funded by the Rothschilds and the God knows what else, and it's just like, man, like this is why I guess society can't advance, because like people that are supposed to be, kind of smart believe in these conspiracy theories and rather invest in something like Ripple than actually a decentralized currency staring them in the face.
Stephanie?
Yeah, I agree entirely. I think if there was a conspiracy out there, I would like them to get in touch with me. They owe me a lot of compensation for spending so much time shilling for them. But I haven't heard from anyone, so I'm just going to assume it isn't out there. Yeah, no, Blockstream seems to be doing a good job with that.
Well, I think we'll all put on our tinfoil hats at the casinos. And Rodolfo, I'm throwing you on last again. And I have your tweet up. So you want to say a little bit more about Cold Card?
Yeah. I mean, it's still sort of, I'm slightly biased, but pretty much the best hardware wallet can get. It is, we still don't support shitcoins, and we won't because we don't have time. And PSBT. So we're really sort of making the stuff that is like, how you should be doing Bitcoin. It's offline. You don't need a computer to use this. And people really wanted physical keys because touch didn't work for some. So we sort of decided to go ahead and make actual buttons in there. They're pretty neat. Look at that. There's so much satisfaction in buttons.
You're such a nerd.
Fact.
All right. Well, our academic, we are all just ridiculous nerds on this show, but Saif Fadin, our brilliant author on this show, can you tell us what you're up to?
Well, I'm still working on my Patreon. I've mentioned that before, where I do research reports. Sent out the last one a couple of weeks ago on the link between money, time preference, and food quality and soil degradation. And it's like the combination of my readings into nutrition and the work of a guy called Weston Price, and my readings into economics and Misesian and Austrian economics and so on, combining the insights from the two, it's something that I've thought about a lot, but never sat down and written about, because I've not written about nutrition before, except in terms of, making shit posts on Twitter about the importance of eating steak. But this time I actually sat down and really explained the linkage between time preference, more government control and money, and the control that it leads to in terms of diet and the impact it has on soil and people's diets and health and so on. So there's that, and the report is available for sale. If you don't want to subscribe, you can just email me at thebitcoinstandard@gmail.com. And also, I've not really announced this yet. I'm still at a very embryonic stage, but I think I wanted to let you guys know. I'm speaking of academia and how much academia is behind. I think it's time to get out of that sort of model for teaching people through these old, outdated institutions. And I want to try my hand at doing economics classes online and teaching people directly. So I'll upload lectures where you can download the lecture and get the course notes and the syllabus, and study the course on your own. And then if you want to do seminars, interactive seminars, we'll have seminars with 8 or 10 students only, where we meet weekly and discuss the readings of the course. And I think being able to do this directly, where I just meet with students, allows me to use my time much more efficiently. And being able to write directly for people who are interested, I think, is just the way that academia is going to go. As you see, the most credentialed and most important universities in the world are reduced to the ranks of shitcoin peddlers. And this is what you got to do to eat in academia today. And effectively, I think, the world is definitely not going towards more of that. We're going to see more peer-to-peer education. That's what I want to work on. So more and more research directly for sale and more classes online.
That's amazing. Actually, well, to tell a personal story, my mom's a PhD in Shakespearean literature, and she was a professor and got so frustrated with just how much she had to produce, way too much, as you very well know, and ended up just leaving academia, starting her own company for it, which is good. But to that point of just at one point, you're putting out sometimes crap.
Yeah.
Because you're just needing to do so much to maintain tenure and freaking out and all that. Okay, before I lose Wi-Fi again, Tone, people are asking for your TA. Safe, Rodolfo, do we get you guys sticking around?
I think I'm going to skip the TA. I'm a hodler and I don't know anything about charts, and life is easy for me. So I'm going to go back and hang out with my daughter.
Hey, Safe, before you go, and Rodolfo, also before you go, and you can say no comment. So at a risk of all of us getting blocked by Andreas, who we all like, I mentioned this on my other channel, but he's getting roasted for this tweet. And all the tweet says is, Ethereum, Constantinople hard fork postponed because of security issues. All node operators need to upgrade node software today to prevent being forked out of consensus. And he's being roasted for, his book, Mastering Ethereum. And any general thoughts? And some of these are kind of funny. Like this one cracked me up. It's an exclusive footage of the Ethereum upgrade. I don't know if you guys seen this.
I mean, did you see that?
Just watch. Say, if you've never seen this, just watch.
Oh.
Continuous.
Oh. Oh. This is uncomfortable.
Anyway, it just keeps going and going and going.
I
Yep.
think the issue is I love Andreas, but like he's too shitcoin friendly. And you know, like I think that people who should know better need to sort of like represent that in how they portray it, because you know the people that don't know better are going to follow you. And you know, if you say, you know, if you write a book about Ethereum, which I love that they use those flies, they look like bees but they're actually flies over a pile of garbage. It's actually like it couldn't have been more perfect. You know, Ethereum is a big pile of shit. And we've all been saying it for like I don't know how many years now. Like I'm tired of screaming, you know, Ethereum doesn't work. And you know, it eventually comes out, right? You can't lie about tech forever because eventually it has to work.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I just think there's really no good reason to be promoting Ethereum. It doesn't do anything, and I think it's unfortunate that Andreas has spent a lot of time promoting Ethereum because it gave a lot of people, me included, the idea that there's something there. And so you start off from seeing that people with a lot of credibility, like Andreas, talk about Ethereum in the same breath in which they talk about Bitcoin. And even if you don't make sense, you begin with the assumption that there's something there, when, you know, it would have arguably been better for all of us if we had started off with the same assumption I started with Stellar Lumens or whatever the fuck they're called. But essentially, you know, we've seen this Ethereum stuff go on for so long, and all that they do is just have politics and hard forks, and you know, just talk about how they're going to scale and talk about how they're going to do this and this and that. But they don't do anything. They do not do anything. They don't have the one thing that Bitcoin has, which is 10 years of operation and 10 years of essentially no fraud and transactions that can't be reversed, no central authority in control of it. They don't have that. They had several hard forks. They've reversed, rolled back many transactions. And so they don't have the one property that Bitcoin has of being digital cash, and all of the other stuff. There comes a point where people need to just suspend, credibility in order to continue to believe in this stuff. But because it just doesn't make any sense, none of it is going to come true. So really, Andreas, I mean, we've got enough work to do with teaching people about Bitcoin and getting people to understand what Bitcoin is. And I think, you know, there's enough there for you to focus on. Who cares about Ethereum anyway?
Thanks, Dave. Tone.
Awesome. All right. Hey, thanks for joining us, guys. I'm going to do a quick rundown. We are Saifedean, still not sure if Rodolfo is going to make it to Unconfiscatable. Does Rodolfo know if he's going to make it?
Rodolfo is still unsure because the 4-month-old requires some attention, and then I have to travel to another conference, 3 days later. So I still in the cards. I might just take a last-minute flight, go for the dinner, stay the night, and leave in the morning.
Okay, well, the dinner is on Thursday. The conference is on Saturday. So anyway, keep that in mind. So yeah, that's still going on. Hey guys, if you are not going to make the conference and you want a refund, you better do it by tomorrow, by Monday. I'll give you guys till Monday. As of Monday, we're no longer honoring refunds. I'm saying that right now. And I'm happy to give you credit to next year's conference. And but we don't have the manpower, we don't have the capacity, we don't have the ability to individually deal with attendees, because there's literally 2 people managing an entire conference. So potentially we can discuss afterwards, but this conference isn't looking like it's going to be profitable, and all your money has already been used to put the conference on. So there you go. So going forward, this will be an official policy. The moment you buy your ticket, it is non-refundable, but you can get credit towards future tone-based stuff. So that's my announcement. We're going to tweet that out as well, that as of Monday, which is only 1 week, or not even less than a week before the conference starts, there are no longer going to be refunds. So that's my one main announcement. Okay, that's it. Other than that, we should probably get to the price. Hey, thanks for joining us, guys. Safe. I'll see you over there.
My pleasure.
Here's the agenda, by the way. Safe. You are going to be speaking at 9:30 in the morning, but you're not the first to go. There'll be a media panel right before you.
Okay,
right.
wonderful. I will see you guys there.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
All right, let's talk about the price of Bitcoin. And I restarted my computer, so all of these charts are going to have to reload. Here is the monthly chart. Let's see what we got here. So on a monthly chart, this is not a great looking candle. The month is about halfway through. And if it's another red candle, well, continues to give a bearish posture to the market. If I had to say whether the monthly chart looks bearish, bullish, or neutral, I will say it is leaning bearish. Let's go to the weekly chart. Here's the weekly chart. The weekly chart is giving us a little bit of a green candle, but again, we're just above 3,600. Absolutely nothing to write home about. I don't really like it. Again, if you put me on the spot and said, is this bearish, bullish, or neutral, I will say I'm leaning bearish on this candle. I am anticipating lower prices in the near future based on a weekly chart. Your support remains a 200-week moving average, but if you get there, you are very close to prior support, which gives it a higher probability of breaking that support. You have a small probability of bouncing from just under $3,000 and starting a new bull market. I highly doubt that. I do believe we will get lower prices. Here's the daily chart. The daily chart is totally flat. The daily chart has been uninteresting for over a week. As this moving average catches up, we broke above the moving average. This looked promising. We fell below the moving average. It's back to where we were. And we are consolidating at the lows of this range, giving it a huge probability of a breakdown. If this continues for another few days, I mean, I would be looking for a big breakdown. Like, let's see tomorrow, if I get a red 2 below a red 1, below 35.50, I think this thing is going to fall, and it's going to fall hard. Let's just say I'm looking to cash out some Bitcoin this weekend in order to make sure we have enough cash to pay the vendors and at the conference next week. I don't want to take a chance at watching it go sub 3,000 the week of the conference. Here is the 12-hour chart. The 12-hour chart is also not doing anything. As the price consolidates at the lows and the moving averages come down and catch up to it, sets up a big possibility of a breakdown. Again, give it another day or two of consolidation, and then I'm looking for a big drop. Like the next time you get one of these candles, it's not going to take place on a 9. It's going to take place on a 2 or a 3, and then you're going to get a repeat of what happened in the beginning of this downtrend to a 9 instead of the end of it. So far, every single chart I've looked at from the monthly on down to the 12 is leaning bearish with sub $3,000 prices. Oh, a little light at the end of the tunnel here. I like the positive CMF, though then again, the positive CMF didn't do all that much up here, where I was also somewhat optimistic. And again, the moving averages have already caught up a little bit. We are in a red 4 on the hourly. The hourly doesn't really matter all that much. The hourly is the only one I can say it's 100% neutral and not leaning bearish at the moment. That's about it. This is the hourly. Sorry, that was the 4-hour. The same applies though. The 4-hour and the 1 hour. I mean, the Bitcoin has done pretty much nothing on a daily scale, so the 4-hour and the 1 hour are kind of meaningless. Here is the longs versus shorts. The shorts are very, very small, and therefore that opens up a higher probability of a breakdown without the shorts profiting. GBTC isn't doing too well at 4.3 with a 20% premium. I would not be rushing into GBTC right now. I would wait for the premium to come down to about 5%. Maybe the price will come down to sub $3 on GBTC. That could be a pretty good buying opportunity between the premium and the underlying price. We talked way too much about Ethereum today. The chart isn't interesting at all. I hated that all of this stuff shows up. Oil is just fluctuating like crazy in the middle of the day. Oil is now back to the rebound. Again, for me, there is a level. I mean, I did say in our last video with Tyler that I am looking for oil to at least go to 55.50. And if we can break above 55.50, it can go as high as this moving average, which is sitting at $60. Maybe it can go to the next level of resistance, which is the combination of moving average and a 62% Fibonacci line. It is clearly off this reversal candle that looked to me like a complete breakdown, but I guess it got a little oversold. The TI isn't perfect. To me, this would have been a short trade. I would have been out of that trade either at break even or with a small loss. It is now on a bullish trade in a bearish market. Leah, your thoughts on oil?
You've heard them. I couldn't agree more. At this point, I'm looking for it to go back down. I have a couple. Okay, you're going dollar. I have a couple individual stocks that I think you'll have fun with today, though. And Dow's up. I mean, so you should definitely do DJI.
Yeah, so I was too busy this morning to talk about the markets. I've been doing these market videos, teaching people how to trade. Now, I didn't even realize that Monday the markets are closed. Monday is Martin Luther King Day. So the markets are closed. One of the first things that was taught to me as a trader, never trade the day before or after a holiday. So that means you should not have been trading today, and you should not be trading on Tuesday. So it creates these giant gaps. Hey, when there's a holiday, just go as a trader, go on a damn vacation, okay? So go back to the last market videos that we've done. Now, normally, if this wasn't a Friday of a holiday weekend, I would absolutely be buying whatever asset this is on a green 2 going above a green 1, being above the 9. The only thing that prevented me from doing so is the fact that it's a Friday, and the fact that it's a Friday of a holiday makes it even more complicated. But yes, the market did go up today. Here's the 10-minute chart that we spent a lot of time on, and the stock market opened on a huge up gap, and this up gap never closed, and this is not normal. It's really not, and we continued going up all day, and this is kind of meaningless. Now, I think that this gap needs to close. I honestly think that next week the market is going to pull back a little bit and close the gap. However, because as long as the market stays above 2,600 next week, I think I think the bear market could be over. I know a lot of people are pointing to this wedge. Peter Brandt sent out a tweet talking about a wedge and how the market is imminent for a breakdown. I don't like wedges. I really don't. I don't find them to be statistically useful. I don't find them to be accurate for traders. So I'm not looking at any wedges here. What I am looking at is sequential, and I am looking at a break of a major resistance point. If we can maybe go up to 2,700 to the middle of this range, it creates plenty of room to backtest 2,600 and maintain the uptrend. I am very bullish the S&P 500 at the moment, even though because of the holiday weekend, it's a little bit weird. But I am, I said it last year, and I'll say at the end of last year, when the stock market were crashing and the gloom and doom bloggers were ready to, count their gold coins. And I said it then, and I say it now. The stock market will make a new all-time high before Bitcoin will. I've been saying it for the last 6 months, and I still believe in that today. Speaking of gold, gold's pulling back And that makes total sense, because if the stock market is out of the woods, if the stock, and like I've been saying for the last month and a half, I did not expect gold to break this trend line. And looks like gold's getting rejected. And if the stock market has reversed a bear trend into a bullish trend, expect gold to go to new lows. This is the Dow Jones Transportation, again, on a weekly scale. And the transportation is looking good. Now, I love this index. Look how awesome the TD sequential has been on the Dow Jones Transportation. Every single peak is marked by a 9, except this one. And man, I wish there was a 9 buy somewhere here at the bottom. But hey, we're on a green 2 above a green 1 on a weekly scale. The week has just ended. If the Dow Jones Transportation is sitting right at resistance, the same resistance that the S&P is sitting on, I mean, if both of these things can break out, then they're both going to reach new all-time highs this year. Leah, you got stocks for me?
Yeah, well, you actually, so I wanted you to do Goldman only because, you know, I like Asian equities, and what's happened with the lawsuit with Malaysia is kind of funny. I think you'll enjoy Goldman Sachs. So have you been following? So the lawsuits, yeah, I'll just leave it.
I have absolutely no clue what you're talking about.
Daily, yeah. And then someone asked for Tesla because obviously it got smashed today.
I have no clue what lawsuits Goldman is in.
So, yeah, well, so
oh,
what's happening?
whoa, the volume looked actually interesting for a change. What is this? That's a monster volume spike.
So Malaysia is now potentially going to drop Goldman's like massive charges for 7.5 billion.
Also, Goldman gets to save 7.5 billion.
So they were very much mixed up in a very bad political issue where the former prime minister may serve life in prison. But all this news has really just been properly coming out today. So anyways, that would account for a lot of the volume coming out recently.
Well, sure, but like I have no idea what the news are. All I can tell you is this. Here's what I can tell you. What I can tell you is if I was trading Goldman, the number one thing that I would use to trade Goldman is the TD sequential. The TD sequential gave me a 9 buy right there, or bouncing off a strong 8 candle. I would have bought Goldman on a 9. I would have exited Goldman on the 9 sell. When would I have entered Goldman back in? Well, it's very, very simple. It's the same thing that I've been saying the last couple of videos in the shirt that I was wearing. On a green 2, that's trading above a green 1, that's also trading above a 9 sell. This is your re-entry candle. And news or no news, you would still be in this trade looking to exit in 2 days. So, hey, this is where TA, sure, the news could have been in the opposite direction and you could have gotten smashed. But news is unpredictable. You didn't know that the news event is going to happen. And even the professionals didn't know that the news is going to happen, or it would have been priced in and this volume spike would not have existed. So yes, you could have certainly been on the right side of this trade in Goldman if you are, you know, I don't want to say the word expert, but if you are a connoisseur of the sequential system, it would have had you on the right side of the trade. Okay, next stock.
Okay, Overstock, OSTK.
Oh God, this thing isn't at 0 yet? Oh Lord. Well, this is clearly the Bitcoin blockchain hype. And wow. Well, I think Overstock's done. All right, so here's the good news. The good news is that it is unreasonably oversold. And this is a very large, I mean, I don't even normally talk about volume. This is a pretty strong volume spike. And normally this leads to some serious accumulation and upside. However, you see it right here. Like there's absolutely no difference between the current candle and this candle here, neither of which took place on an earnings announcement. Now, this is actually not normal. It's not very normal to get one of these big candles that closes at the top of the candle with an unreasonably large volume spike, only to see it trade down extensively. Now, what I can tell you is that all the people that bought over here panic sold over here. Okay, that's kind of how it works. Now, these were the smarter people that used the little bump in prices to get out of a bad position they've been holding for too long. Now, this probably was smart buying that bought into early and got paid for it. Like right here, to be honest with you guys, as much as Overstock is a useless company, the technical picture here tells me that, hey, if Overstock has 2 or 3 days of upside, it is tradable to the upside, but I think Overstock as a company will probably get bought out at this point. Okay, when a company goes from $80 down to 15 or 10, it is at a huge risk of a buyout. So I would never short Overstock at this point, because someone can show up and buy Overstock at $25 a share, and then you get crushed. So for me personally, if this stock can go, and it's consolidated at the lows quite enough, and it looks like we're going back into a bull market, and this stock has been beaten up for a while. So if next week it can get above the other moving average, which is the 50-day moving average, if we can get over the 50-day moving average and over the prior swing high, because we just established a slightly higher swing low, I think this thing can break out and make its way to approximately 25 or 27.50 over to the next moving average. But then from there, I think it's going to reverse and go back down. I mean, Overstock is just a disaster, and I think this will go to sub 10, but because it's oversold so much, I think, and there are institutional investors that can't have certain stocks go below $10. So they will be defending them. So I think Overstock is a potential knife catch if someone has been interested in eyeing it for a while. At above $15 a share, it's at $15.13 now. So maybe at above $16 a share, it could be a nice speculative play up to 25. But then from there, I would short the hell out of it, but very carefully, maybe with options or something, because I think if Overstock falls below $10, it's going to get bought out.
Yeah, well, what was kind of interesting is a couple days ago, we didn't do the brief that day, but the T0, right? Like the portfolio company of the digital retailer, well, of Overstock, their token, they were saying that Overstock's T0 is going to distribute its security token to investors. There's just a lot of silliness, shakeups. Their investment arm got new key executives, so I guess there's some stuff going on there. The last one, okay, you did get a tip for, oh boy, for the first one was Tesla. Okay, because Elon Musk is not going to be hiring people anymore, and they're in China. We'll see what's up.
Wait, what's going on?
There's a big news that they're gonna freeze hiring, stuff like that. Go to Tesla. Not a good day for Tesla.
The hiring freeze should not be looked upon badly by investors. Like Amazon doubling everyone's minimum wage is probably not a great thing. But yeah, so is that the news? Is that the hiring freeze big drop?
Well, sorry, I said it wrong. Absolutely not hiring freeze. Actually, they cut, it was something like 7% of their workforce, like big time cut.
Oh, that's a big difference.
Yeah, I was thinking Apple.
Yeah, this is not good. Bad news event. Look, guys, the sequential system isn't perfect. I would have been on the wrong side of this trade. I would have had no idea the news was coming. And I would have been long if I was trading the sequential because it was telling me to stay long. So you would have done amazingly well in Goldman, but you would have lost money in Tesla. And I would stay away from it right now. I think it'll be fine for Tesla. Tesla overall has survived this bear market in the stock market unreasonably well. And I wouldn't worry too much about it at the moment. I mean, earnings is coming up in a few days, a few weeks maybe. I would just watch it. Like, I would not trade it. I have no opinion. I'm gonna wait until after earnings.
Last one, selfish, but also people in the live chat were asking Palladium. I was like obsessed this morning with trading Palladium.
I mean, I have a chart of Palladium somewhere. I don't. I think it's like one guy that has some kind of an investment in Palladium. Guys, we can't cater to one person. Palladium is not important. I'm sorry. It's not. It's not that important to cover every single day.
It's interesting in regards to when you're covering gold, and then Palladium I think is more akin to silver, which it's just, I think the three are interesting right now,
I
personally.
think Palladium is way more industrially useful.
Right, and if you saw that there was a major uptick for industrial manufacturing numbers for December, and it's continuing uptick despite a lot of other really negative economic indicators. So there's an interesting play. And for Palladium, the biggest producer obviously is Russia, but we're not too far behind in Canada. And then the biggest buyers are China and us. But, you know, who's buying who is probably a pretty obvious answer.
I mean, I think it's time for a pullback in Palladium. It's gone up quite a bit. It's gone up a lot. And I would not be going long at this point. I mean, you're gonna, if it doesn't collapse, well, the futures markets and the metals should be trading on Monday. So you'll probably get your 8 because the US traders aren't going to be trading. They're going to be on vacation. So it's very possible you're going to get a daily 9 on Wednesday. And that could be the end. You know, that could be that final nail in the uptrend. I would, let's see what happens over the next few days. It's possible that Palladium is finally toppy. The daily chart is coming up on a 9. The weekly chart is only on a 4. But let's see what next week looks like. That's a pretty big wick on the upside. And it's very possible that Palladium needs to pull back. Now, if Palladium starts to pull back, where is it reasonable to pull back to? Well, to the prior swing high. It can fall about $200 down to $1,100. And if the uptrend is strong, it'll then reverse and go make a new high. If the uptrend is done for an extended period of time, then it will break below 1,100. And if it breaks below 1,100, Palladium is in a bit of trouble. If we break below 1,100, we're probably the hype will be over, and it'll go back to like 700, 800, and then it'll just be bad. Like Palladium, if you and it could like go way down to like fall like 50%, 60%. So Palladium needs to stay above 700, and then it can have one more push to the upside. But I do think it's reasonable to see a top here at 1,400. Let's see what next week brings. Remind me the week after next week, or at the end of next week. Well, at the end of next week, we have a conference. So remind me after the conference to take a look at it again.
All right. Maybe you'll know my trade by then. Okay, off we go. Let's have a day. All
right, guys, once again, hey, come out to support the conference. As I announced earlier, we are no longer going to be honoring refunds. Either get there or we'll give you credit towards next year's conference or something like that, or maybe my workshop or whatever. But no, we can't manage that. I mean, look, if you guys, no, there's going to be a no refund policy at all future conferences from the start. We've been honoring refunds up to this point. If you're not going to make the conference, you better let us know this weekend, because this is not something 2 people are going to be managing. The day of the conference, someone's screaming for a refund because they decided not to fly to Vegas. So yeah, it's been very, very frustrating this week. And I mean, this is how these things are made, right? X number of people register, and we allocate that money to the conference to make it work. And yeah, so come out, support. 0.1 Bitcoin, only $300 right now, 350, 360 to attend. And poker is sold out, carnivory is sold out, but you can still come to the conference itself at the end of the month.
Yay. And I'm on, yeah.
Sorry, one last thing, sorry. Tomorrow morning, I am doing a webinar. The webinar is only for the people that registered for one of these 3 workshops and paid for it. As you can see, 2 of them are already sold out. But you're welcome to come to France. Oh man, I think this was a mistake. It's like London sold out and France, no one's coming. But I guess I'm not very popular with the French. But yes. So there will be a webinar. I don't want to teach what is a candlestick anymore in person. I'm doing it online. I will create a Patreon page. I will be doing more educational webinars for everyone. But the webinar tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern time, 8 a.m. where I'm standing in Phoenix. And it'll be about 3 hours long, maybe a little longer. And it's like the first half of what used to be my in-person workshop. We're doing that online. More workshops will come up for registration soon. We're just overwhelmed with all of this work between the conference and these workshops. All right. Oh, and if you're just interested in the indicator, click on the indicator button. All the info is here. And if you want to support this free YouTube channel for you guys, please sign up for TradingView or TorGuard through these links, or do your Amazon shopping after clicking on any one of these links. All right, Leah, back to you.
I think I'm not frozen anymore. Tone, we're on 2 panels together. One of them we're debating each other on FA.
A little bit. Yes, it'll be fun.
All right, cool. All right. Thank you, Tone. Thank you, everybody, for watching.
Bye, guys.